Guys, good to see you both. How are we?
I'm great, and it's good to see you and you, Luigi, my mate.
How's it,
How's
Steve?
your
How's it
week?
going?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm looking forward to this. We ain't done one for a few weeks, so this should
Yeah.
be a bit of fun. And they all are.
Good. Well, we've got a cracking little section, like Lou was just saying before we pressed record. There's some absolute classics in this bit. What we're going to do is we're going to read How is Healing Accomplished? But we're going to look at it in the three parts so that we don't get too far away from each section when we refer back to it and riff on it. So let's deep dive straight away. How is healing accomplished? Healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. Healing is impossible without this. Number one, the perceived purpose of sickness. Healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer no longer sees any value in pain. Who would choose suffering unless he thought it brought him something, and something of value to him? He must think it's a small price to pay for something of greater worth. For sickness is an election, a decision. It's the choice of weakness, in the mistaken conviction that it is strength. When this occurs, real strength is seen as threat and health as danger. Sickness is a method conceived in madness for placing God's Son on his Father's throne. God is seen as outside, fierce and powerful, eager to keep all power for himself. Only by his death can he be conquered by his Son. And what, in this insane conviction, does healing stand for? It symbolizes the defeat of God's Son and the triumph of the Father over him. It represents the ultimate defiance in a direct form which the Son of God is forced to recognize. It stands for all that he would hide from himself to protect his life. If he is healed, he is responsible for his thoughts. And if he is responsible for his thoughts, he will be killed to prove to him how weak and pitiful he is. But if he chooses death himself, his weakness is his strength. Now has he given himself what God would give to him, and thus entirely usurped the throne of his creator. You want to jump in, Lou?
Yeah, the doppelganger, the two-edged sword. So it's almost a spiteful decision. Yeah, so since I cannot choose and I have no real power, I'm now going to prove to God that I do, since I cannot kill God, by killing myself. And that part is how's it accomplished? It's healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer, or the idea of a sufferer, no longer sees any value in pain. Because we value it, and so that we can say, look, the world's done this to me. Look, my genetics have done this. My parents are to blame. The pollution is to blame. Something outside me is to blame. I haven't done this to myself. It's trying to take the blame for dreaming and project it onto the characters in the dream. How else is it going to punish you but through self-punishment? And he thinks it's a small price to pay for something of greater worth. What? Autonomy. It's the belief and I have a choice to keep dreaming. Sickness is an election, a decision. It's a decision we make. And until we take full ownership for being the dreamer, the Holy Son of God that has temporarily fallen asleep, this will elude you. The choice of weakness, thinking that we can decide how we should die when nothing actually dies. It's just simply a dream, a mistaken conviction of strength. There's no strength in choosing. You don't have a choice in your dream state. It's already over, replaying over and over again in what appears to be lifetime after lifetime. But it's all over, Holy Son of God. You're still in the kingdom, just dreaming that this is real. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I love that part. Sickness is a method conceived in madness,
Yeah.
you know. So for choosing to think you're because one of my first recognitions as a young boy is surely this isn't God's doing. Surely we've dreamt this up. You know, we are the God of the universe. In other words, it's our making. I figured that out at a very young age. How did that happen? Simply by willing to look at it again. You know, as a young boy, wow, there it is. There's no way God would have made this. You know, there's no way God would have created a planet where something has to die for something to live. It just doesn't make any sense. You know, just couldn't figure out why we would do this to ourselves, and it's taken me my whole life to figure it out. We haven't. We're just dreaming we have. You know, God is seen on the outside, fierce and powerful. That's the identity of the God we all worship, the God of the old Bible, which is really just stories of Enki and Enlil and Anu
Yeah.
trying to keep the two suns apart. You know, ultimately, um, it all of this is because we buy into beliefs that we, by our own making, belief we've made up, and just keep regurgitating and passing it from one generation to the next. No one, no one says they choose sickness, yet they choose the thoughts which are sick.
Mm.
They choose the thoughts which are separated. And what appears as disease or pain or suffering in this world is the consequence of having chosen wrongly.
Mm.
And healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. And it's simply to keep us in the belief of separation, projecting blame onto the rest of our fractured selves.
And
And
also,
he,
if you
which
think of
is,
that bit where it says in the course, the secret of salvation is this, that you're doing it to yourself.
yeah,
This is perfect, isn't it? Because it's like, oh, this is all happening to me. It's showing up in my body as a consequence of all the things that are happening to me, rather than it being a reflection of what's going on in your mind, manifesting
yeah.
itself in form.
But the
Yeah.
last point I'll say is the answer is actually in the heading.
Hmm.
How is healing accomplished? So it's already accomplished. It's
Brilliant.
not to be
Yeah,
accomplished.
brilliant.
It's healing is accomplished. It's done.
Mhm.
You're healed. You're just dreaming that you're not.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, essentially, God or the source being wholeness or oneness, it is just the oneness that we can't comprehend totally at the moment. But this dream being the opposite of him, wholeness, separation, and
Mm,
separation into perfect opposites, right? Now, because it's perfect opposites, everything here has got to have an opposite, as we've discussed before. So God here must have an opposite, right? So that's where we get this devil business from. So this devil business, which appears to exist for some people who go about worshipping him, I mean, who knows what that's all about? But it's easy to see because he promises them heaps of snow in the form of money and all that, and the other and big houses and fancy cars and haircuts and all this. I mean, it's like it's like they pain because this existence cannot offer the love of the wholeness of God.
mm,
It cannot offer the wholeness of love. But what it offers instead is an opposite to it,
yeah,
absolute pain. There's love here, and you can feel it. That's about the Course of Miracles is all about rediscovering that love and realizing that the life, that thinking that this is all there is and the be all and end all, it's not, and there is a way out. But this pain is like the opposite. Like, oh yeah, well I can produce something that will make you believe that this is true.
yes.
And as someone writhing in agony saying to them, oh, it isn't real, it's only a dream, that ain't going to do you any good. You know what I mean? They have to sort of, like, you've got to get that through to them before it starts so they can think, wait a minute, I can fight this. This isn't true.
Mhm.
This is something I'm so, yeah. I put this as a comment to, I watched a Neville Goddard video the other day, and he's very good. He sort of summarizes up the course in a straight talking kind of way. But in the comment, like he's saying, if you truly believe, like, you decide yourself, forget about the past, forget about the future. I'm in the present. In the present, I am not ill. I cannot be ill. I am only love. And then set your target. I cannot be anything except love. And that resists it, he's saying. Right. Well, I reminded me of something years ago, because I used to be an actor years ago in provincial theatre and all that. And then I was in this play. And the day before the opening night, I was starting to come down with flu. And I thought, oh no, I can't do this because the theatre was packed, full house, you know what I mean? I had quite a good role. And you can't do it with a flu. And I thought, this is terrible. So I went up to the corner shop because I said to, have you got any cough sweets or something? Because I couldn't go to the chemist or anything or doctor or anything. I didn't have time for all that. And besides, I wanted to do the show. And I said, have you got anything that could help this? I think I've got a cold or a flu coming on. And she said, yeah, take these cough sweets, these throat and chest lozenges. I think they're called Jakemans or something like that.
Oh,
She said they've been known because Stoke-on-Trent, where I was living at the time, was a mining area. And she said miners take these and that keeps away colds and things. I thought, okay, well, that'd do. She said they've been known to cure it. Well, I thought, well, I've only got a day. But I convinced myself because I was so desperate not to let everyone down that eating these sweets is going to cure me. So I went home and I unwrapped one, stuffing them in my mouth, just scoffing these, well, a little more than menthol sweets, really. But I stuffed them. I thought, oh, I'm going to get rid of this. And I thought, it's going to work, it's going to work. And when I woke up in the morning, all the symptoms were gone. And I thought, wow. Because I had convinced myself that these sweets were going to
That's it.
cure me, and they
That's
did.
it. That's it.
And since then, I've read about a bloke who wanted to give up smoking. He couldn't give up smoking, like, and someone had come up with a similar idea. If I eat something I never eat, I'll never smoke again. So he thought of something he never eats, and he thought of a tin of prunes because he never eats prunes. So he went out and bought a tin of prunes, convinced himself when I get to the bottom of these prunes, I'm not going to smoke again. And he had this tin of prunes and never smoked again because he'd overcome it by convincing himself, I can do this. I'm a powerful being. I don't know if he did or he didn't, but that story's there. My story's true. That did happen to me. Yeah. And I'll say this before I forget, talking about miracles and all that. After I've been doing it, because when I started traveling 20 years ago, right, I wear glasses now, but I need them for reading. That's only the last couple of years I've had to, old age, started to need them for reading and all that. But when I first started traveling 20 years ago, I'd needed glasses for years for driving and watching TV. And I had hearing aids because I didn't have very good hearing. Well, a couple of years after I was started traveling, I was in Australia and I was into the course big time. And I didn't ask for this, but one day I had to go over and see a friend of mine in Australia. I was in a farm and he was on another farm somewhere. And I took the car and I was driving over there to see him. And as I was driving, I suddenly realised I couldn't see through my glasses properly. And I thought, how did they get dirty so suddenly? So I thought, well, don't stop now because you're along a country road. You just get to. I got to my friend's farm, pulled in, took my glasses off to clean them, and everything was crystal clear. And the reason why they gone blurry is because my eyes suddenly healed, and the glasses, which were designed for my old eyesight, suddenly become blurry. They weren't dirty at all. My eyesight was cured, and they have been to this day. I mean, absolutely crystal. I went from not being able to drive without them or watching the TV to be able to see crystal clear vision. That's true. I didn't ask for a miracle, but it was a miracle. And I tell you, and since then, I lost my hearing aid. I left one around someone's house somewhere. Don't ask me how that happened, but I did. And the other one broke. And my ears improved, and I haven't needed a hearing aid since. And I didn't ask for any of this. Perhaps reading the course was enough. But like I say, in recent years, I've had to get reading glasses because it's
Well,
just of old age, I suppose. But that's my miracle story. So healing is there.
but the
It's
beautiful
there.
line in that, Steve, is you didn't ask because whenever we ask for the miracle, we ask from a place of not having.
hmm.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah.
actually vibrating and not having, asking for something we believe we don't have. What's given to one is given to all. We already are healing. We already are healed. The fact that you just carried on with your life, pretending or not even giving it any attention, is what brings about the healing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it must be that because I really, like I said before, once I started on I knew the course was true from the beginning. I didn't have to read it and think, oh, I think this is pretty true. I just knew. So as I was reading it, my understanding of it grew and grew and grew, and like the understanding of what a miracle is, I didn't think about this eyesight thing at all. And then suddenly it happened to me. I could
Mm.
suddenly see again. You
Talk
know,
about shift in perception. When it says the miracle's a shift in perception, you
well, that's what it
literally
was.
had a shift in
Yes,
perception.
Yeah.
a literal shift in perception. I never
And
wore glasses again after that. I
I
didn't
think,
need to because I couldn't see through them anymore. They were just blurred.
I think that's so brilliant as well, Lou, about saying about the title, "How is healing accomplished?" And putting that slant on it because it's so easy to
Mm.
overlay on that sentence that there is a journey and a time frame and something that's not already been arrived at. How is healing, oh, how is healing accomplished? I'd love to know, because, I guess it's going to take about 30 or 40 years
Hmm.
rather than it being a given and going, oh, how is healing accomplished?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And it's such our ego, our delusional dreaming mind is so clever or
Mm,
magnificently clever that it imagined an entire universe, then made it
mm,
real for itself.
mm,
But what a clever way. So if you haven't found the non-dual and you still believe in a God outside you,
mhm,
even that way it catches you. So God, this perfect being who just creates perfection, then goes and creates imperfect children
mm,
who can die and who can suffer. So how powerful is this God anyway, if you believe in a dualistic God?
mm,
So it's just so clever in making sure that you trap by first of all, the belief in separation.
mm.
And the second of all, even if you believe in separation or duality, that it's an imperfect God.
Excellent. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
So
mean,
clever.
Yeah.
the thought system, be that thought system ego or Holy Spirit, the appropriation includes everything.
Absolutely.
And that's why that metaphor is so cool about saying, Rupert Spira's one about wearing a pair of orange glasses, because
Yeah.
Mm.
if you've got orange glasses on, everything you see is tinted orange. And if your primary experience of reality is wearing a pair of glasses, there's nothing that escapes that. And then the unfiltered perception being no glasses, nothing escapes that either. So, of course,
Yeah.
God gets pulled into it and everything gets
Mm.
pulled into it, because
Yeah.
it's a total thing. Perception is total. It's either through the eyes of love, through the eyes of fear. And then,
Yeah.
this brilliant bit here where it says, if he's healed, he is responsible for his thoughts.
That's it. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Which then it just goes down another rabbit hole, which means you
Yeah.
think
Yep.
you think you have thoughts.
Like poor
You
old
character doesn't
Descartes.
have thoughts. Yeah.
Think about poor old Rene Descartes when he found out that people who don't think still are.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think so. I'm not.
Brilliant. Right, let's have a look at your section, Steve. This is for you then, the shift in perception,
All
the
right.
shift in hearing aids and glasses.
Yep, they shifted out of my life.
I
This reading one shifted
always
back
I
in
always
again, but I
like to
don't.
say, people, if you're going to go around and tell lots of other people that you've just had a huge shift, make sure you pronounce the F properly.
Yeah.
There's my advice for everyone watching.
PG-33. There we go.
He's back.
He's back.
He never left. Right. Shift in perception with an F. Healing must occur in exact proportion to which the valuelessness of sickness is recognized. One need but say, there is no gain at all to me in this, and he is healed. But to say this, one first must recognize facts. First, it's obvious that decisions are of the mind, not of the body. If sickness is but a faulty problem solving approach, it's a decision. And if it's a decision, it's the mind and not the body that makes it. The resistance to recognizing this is enormous, because the existence of the world as you perceive it depends on the body being the decision maker. Terms like instincts, reflexes, and the like represent attempts to endow the body with non-mental motivators. Actually, such terms merely state or describe the problem. They do not answer it. The acceptance of sickness as a decision of the mind for a purpose for which it would use the body is the basis of healing. And this is so for healing in all forms. A patient decides that this is so and he recovers. If he decides against recovery, he will not be healed. Who is the physician? Only the mind of the patient himself. The outcome is what he decides that it is. Special agents seem to be ministering to him, yet they but give form to his own choice. He chooses them in order to bring tangible form to his desires. And it is this they do, and nothing else. They're not actually needed at all. The patient could merely rise up without their aid and say, I've no use for this. There is no form of sickness that would not be cured at once. What is the single requisite for this shift in perception? It is simply this: the recognition that sickness is of the mind and has nothing to do with the body. What does this recognition cost? It costs the whole world you see, for the world will never again appear to rule the mind. For with this recognition is responsibility placed where it belongs, not with the world, but on him who looks at the world and sees it as it is not. He looks on what he chooses to see, no more and no less. The world does nothing to him, he only thought it did. Nor does he do anything to the world, because he was mistaken about what it is. Herein is the release from guilt and sickness both, for they are one. Yet to accept this release, the insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea. With this idea is pain forever gone, but with this idea goes all confusion about creation. Does not this follow of necessity? Place cause and effect in their true sequence in one respect, and the learning will generalize and transform the world. The transfer value of one true idea has no end or limit. The final outcome of this lesson is the remembrance of God. What do guilt and sickness, pain, disaster, and all suffering mean now? Having no purpose, they are gone, and with them also go all the effects they seem to cause. Cause and effect but replicate creation. Seen in their proper perspective, without distortion and without fear, they re-establish heaven. Holy smoke, that is good.
You know, like with it, what people don't tend to realise, I mean, well, it's easily explained. The people don't realise that the body and the mind are separate. In a world of separation, the body is separate from the mind. We think like the mind sits inside the body and they're one unit, you know.
Mm.
They're not. I mean, the body, like when the body ceases to function, the mind leaves it and goes into this other dimension, either to the source or back to the astral, wherever it goes. But the mind never dies. You know, the mind dies when you go back home proper, because the mind or consciousness isn't required anymore, because there's nothing in there to be conscious about. But we've discussed that before, you know.
Mm.
But the mind, once the mind, it's like with Jesus with his miracles, going by what you've just read out there. He was totally awakened. And to go to somebody who was suffering, and once they realize that he was totally awakened, if they recognize his awakening, then they must recognize that they can't be ill in his mind. And if they're sharing the same, if he manages to share his mind with them, they are going to be well again. I mean, I don't know about walking on water or making dead bodies rise up or anything like that, though I think that's possibly metaphorical.
Sure.
Absolutely.
You know, analogical, you know, like metaphorical, like, you know, someone appear to be like they're on their last legs and suddenly he heals them and they stand up. Being actually dead, the body's dead. I don't know how that could work. I mean, I suppose you could, but
if I'm going to meet you where you think you are and you think you're sick, then when you look at me, you're going to see fear reflected back at you, because I'm afraid for you, because you're afraid. If I look at you and I refuse to see that, and I just see the perfectly safe, healthy, untouchable you're going to then see that in my face. So, you know, we get these lovely stories about the biblical Jesus and people weeping and wanting to wash his feet because he just reflected back at them their purity. And that's one of the reasons like people love to be in relationships, and because it's
Mm,
such a wonderful, healthy thing to have that mirror, to be in the same house on a daily basis as someone that when you look in their eyes, you see how much they love you, and that
mm.
reminds you that you are lovable. It's an incredibly beautiful thing, and he never looked at people and went, "Oh no, you poor thing, you've got a bad leg." He's like,
Mm.
"You're not in the body. The body's a thought in the
Yep.
mind. The
Yep.
mind isn't in the body. The body is a
Hmm.
thought that we put around this indivisible self to try and go, well,
Mm.
that's Leon, that's Lewis, that's Steve,
Mhm.
that's a
Mhm.
house, that's a car, that's a planet, that's the sun." Da, 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 da. It's like, no, none of that exists really. The changelessness underneath all of that is perfect
Yeah,
oneness.
Yeah.
100%. Look, also the most important part of that section is the miracle isn't the healing of a body. You know, herein is the release from guilt and sickness both, for
Oh,
they
good.
are
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To accept this release, the its insignificance of the body must be an acceptable idea.
Mm.
And think about what we spend our entire lives on: resisting getting older, resisting getting sick. Everything we do is a precaution to keep the body safe. The body is just a thought in form, the appearance of thought. Thought forms, spirit world, thoughts inform the projected world. Secret dream one, secret dream two.
Yeah.
And the minute we let that go and recognize first and foremost, the miracle is the awakening to self that our dreaming mind is undergoing. And it can only undergo through the experience of what it's not. It recognizes what it is. And the only way it recognizes what it is its thoughts forms, its thoughts in form realize they are not real. Their bodies are not real.
Mm.
We don't have a mind in our head. We have a brain, a decoder that decodes the signal broadcast by our dreaming mind. When we recognize we are the mind that dreams, that's the miracle. Then it matters not what happens to the body, whether it ages, dies, doesn't die, lives another 20 years, appears to be healthy, appears. The healing is the recognition I am.
Mm.
In spirit, I abide in God. God is spirit, abides in me. Not I am this body and I've now been healed. That's the world does nothing to him. He only thought it did.
Yeah.
Nor does he do anything to the world because he was mistaken about what it is. What is it? It's a projection of your dreaming mind. It's a dream
Mm.
analogy again. When you wake up in the morning, no matter how seriously you took your dream, you realized, I just dreamt the dream that never really happened. In true reality, it's I'm awake in the kingdom. I'm awake in my father's home. Let's go down and have some breakfast. Let's go and eat some chicken wings and fairy whatever, you know. It's alive. This was never true. That's the miracle. Cause and effect in their true sequence in one respect. In other words,
Yeah.
what we're seeing is the effect. What's the cause? I recognize not what I am. I've fallen asleep, projected a dream called the appearance of the universe, into which I've projected sentient forms of myself,
Hmm.
the essence of all of it being self, capital S, Christ self,
Mm.
yet the appearance thereof, walking, talking circus monkeys appearing to be acting for other circus monkeys. There's no circus, as I've said before. We had love that analogy. You're sitting in the cinema next to Jesus, eating popcorn, and Jesus is holding your hand. Hang a second. There's no you. There's no Jesus. There's no cinema house. There's no screen. There's no projector. All of it is in your mind. When you awaken to that, that's the miracle. It matters not now. Now you're in the sequence of awakening or the appearance of awakening, which is already accomplished.
Yeah. It's like it says in the book, like you awaken from one dream into another, the greater dream.
Absolutely.
I
Mm.
had a particularly clear. I'm always when I always dream about I'm looking for something because I am. I'm always walking down roads. I'm always trying to go somewhere and finding myself going the wrong way. This happens all the time. But last night I was dreaming, I was walking down the street, and it was extremely detailed. But all I was aware of was trying to find something. The streets were there, the houses were there, but I didn't wonder who lives in them and what sort of building they were or anything like that. They were just something in the dream. All I
Mhm.
wanted to do was find out where I was going. I didn't consider anything else in the dream. All detail was as of nothing. And so really when I wake up in this dream, it's just all detail is of nothing. I'm still
Amazing.
looking. I'm still wanting that awakening, that true
But
awakening, which I'm looking for. And the reason why I want is because I want to be able to heal people. You know, that's if there's anything I want, is to be able to heal like the way Jesus did. And whenever I don't know if I'll achieve that or anything like that, but that is my aim, and that is in my subconscious. So it affects my dream. I'm always looking.
mm. And also
And
to just circle back to when we were talking about the totality of perception and the fact
Mm,
that it's either 100% fear or 100% love, what you've just described to us to is who we know you to be when you're awake.
mhm.
So why wouldn't you have a dream as Stephen Dean, who's looking to find out where he's going, and he sees everything in great detail?
it's exactly, it's a
Mm.
reflection
No,
of my mind at
yeah,
night. Now, this is my mind during the day.
yeah.
It's
It's
got the
no
opposite, the day and the
surprise.
night.
Yeah.
It's all of
And
opposites, and it's sleep, awake, day, night. It's just a total
yes.
opposites all the time, hopping from one to the other. That's the problem with the world because you got this free will which decides you what choice you want to make, and you can't make the right positive choice all the time. It's just not possible. Like when you're a little kid, like when you come into this world, you're totally innocent, or so I believe. I mean, it's got this genetic stuff or whatever, but you come in. I remember being about 2 years old, right? And I tortured a spider. Well, I tortured him, I prodded him and hurt him and this, that. And I didn't know what he was. I remember I was so young and I was fascinated by this spider going along the fence. And I was prodding him and this, that. I didn't know what he was. I was really hurting, poor little thing. You know, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know what he was. But as I grew older, and I remember that, I thought, oh, you hurt that poor little spider. No, because I care about things like that.
Yeah.
And you start to realise things you've done when you didn't realise what you were start to haunt you, no matter what they are. And
Mhm.
this begins through your life till you build up this catalogue of guilt behind you that's actually projecting out your subconscious, causing all your ideas about what's going on. When in fact, there's fuck all going on, really. Excuse my French. And it's like, you're sorry about that. But
Please
anyway,
don't
like there's
swear
nothing.
here with us too. We don't like swearing.
Yeah, especially not in French.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, like,
We don't like
that's
French swearing.
merde.
Beautiful. I love it.
So, yeah,
Nothing more liberating.
but there's nothing really going on. It's only what I decide is going on.
Yeah.
It's like we
That's
all
the
got three
cleverness
different
of
worlds.
ego.
We have three of us. We have three different worlds. We all look at the same well. We you see the same scenery, use the same props. We're all writing our own screenplays. And when I go, my screenplay goes with me because no one else really knew what the screenplay was anyway. And that
Sure.
goes from start to finish. And when it says, who can, like in the book, it says one man can awaken the world. Yeah, you can. You can awaken your world because it's only your world you're actually living in.
Mm.
When it's all
Mm.
said and done,
Yeah, I love
when
that
you,
bit. I think it's in the psychotherapy paper, pamphlet where it says,
I,
one
I believe it is.
perfectly healed person, no one need to even know about them
Yeah,
or anything. It's just,
yeah,
it's like, there you go.
yeah,
They
Yeah.
can heal the whole world. And no one even needs to know about them, know their name or anything
yeah.
because there's one mind. But I tell you what, absolutely leapt off the page for me was these few words here: non-mental motivators. In a book that's heavy on the Shakespearean meter and trying to correct all the misunderstandings of
Mhm.
Christian terminology, I love the way sometimes it just kicks me straight between the eyes and just with something so worldly and almost medical and scientific, where it says terms like instincts, reflexes, and the like
Beautiful.
represent
Mm.
attempts to endow the body with non mental motivators.
Yes.
How good is that? Where have you ever read that before in your life? Non mental motivators.
Well, it's like it's in the script, but your mind doesn't want it to be in the script. You start doing something that like every time you've done something, you think, what did I do that for? It's like you've gone off script and done something you don't really want to do. But afterwards, you think, what did I do that?
But
You
how
know, it's
clever
got
is
like,
that of the ego to say, oh, oh, that's reflexes, oh, it's instincts, because it passes on
it gives
responsibility
it an explanation when there isn't one, really.
away
Like,
from you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's,
it's again endowing the body with attributes, making it real.
yeah.
Special gifts,
Mhm.
psychic intuition, you know,
I mean, this,
natural born instinct. It's all
yeah,
exactly, it's again emphasizing body, making the body real. Um, But I love that part, non-mental motivators. It's almost like I used that term last week in my talk, the mental masturbation session of spirituality, where we love to debate non-duality. Yet how can you debate non-duality if you're trapped in duality? What do you understand about non-duality while you're discussing it? If you truly glimpsed into non-duality, you'd go quiet, nothing to say. And then it just nicely wraps it up by saying, actually, such terms merely state or describe the problem. Backhanded, you know, they do not answer it.
Oh, cool.
So you think you have a body.
I'm
You
waiting for A Course
think,
in Miracles too, where it does speak about the meaning of love instead of pretending it's beyond words. It's like, come on, let's get to it, please.
meaning of love, pizza and wine. I mean, if it doesn't put a smile on your mouth, what's the point? If it doesn't make you laugh,
Yeah.
that's it. Hey, we're all human, and this is the important thing to realize. Those of you that have met us for the first time on YouTube, and we seem to have it all together. We all still lose our shit. We all still get upset. We still get the flu. We still trip over whatever and bang our knee. Still crash my motorcycle every now and again. And the minute you think any body mind is special, attributed with certain gifts, psychic ability, healing powers,
Mm.
whatever, you've made idols, gods of thoughts in form. The
Mhm.
recognition is simply, I but dream this. God has nothing to do with any of this. My body doesn't decide. My genetics have nothing to do with it. Let's blame my genetic predisposition. We've heard all the stories, guys that smoked until they were 100 and
Mm.
didn't affect them. Someone sniffed someone smoking a cigarette once and died of lung cancer 3 weeks
Yeah,
later.
passive
You know,
smoking.
we
Yeah,
Hey,
buy
yeah,
we buy into all of these stories. And if it is a decision, it is the mind, not the body that makes it. But again, not this one's mind, not your mind, not
yeah,
my mind, our dreaming mind,
yeah,
which is spat out, projected, the
yeah,
three characters on the screen, and 8 billion throughout the universe, and 9 septillion throughout the universe. It's it's just spitting thoughts. How many thoughts do you have a day? In the same way, our dreaming mind has billions of thoughts per moment. Every thought is then taken form. Once those thoughts recognize we are not real, thoughts dissolve in and of themselves into the light of awareness, returning to where? The awake right mind, Christ mindedness. And that right Christ mindedness is expanding. The dreaming mind is shrinking. And as it shrinks and condenses upon itself, it seems to go darker because it's a concentration of darkness. But it's only because the light is brighter and brighter. And as they say, the night is darkest before the dawn. That's all that's happening in our dream realities. We're awakening to this, recognizing I don't have a mind, you don't have a mind, I don't think, you don't think, we don't think a single thought. We're thought through, we're thoughts of a mind that now recognize this thought isn't true. The only real thought I have is the thought I share with God, and that is pure awareness, pure beingness, pure lightness of being. And then all of this seriousness, this desire for a miracle disappears. And as Steve says, his greatest desire is to heal others. Where's that coming from? He's healed self. It's already healed within, and now he's wanting to share it. It's just the wanting to share of the newfound knowingness. It's not even an understanding, it's beyond understanding. It's just
yeah.
the knowing the beauty within to want to be shared with all of itself. It
Hallelujah.
becomes so simple and so beautiful. It's poetry. This is just beautiful poetry. That's what it's becoming to me.
Well said, sir. And I tell you what, I'm glad you pointed that out because having grown up with a dad who was like an addict, there's many points in my journey where it was nice for me to appropriate that through my lens of ego identity and to think, oh, I've got the genetics of a addict.
Mhm.
They were in his body, they've been passed on to me, so that's why I've got caught up in this loop of whatever it might be.
Mm.
And I've noticed phases in my life where For example, as like a teenager, computer games, just like incredibly addictive. Anything that I get into in the nature of who I am, if it attracts me, I am like really pulled in. I don't just get into something a little bit. I am like 100% in as soon as I'm into something, and I want to know everything about it, and I want to devour it all, because it's just the nature of how I sort of like operate, if you like. So I did have to have discernment. And there was a time in my life when that thought of like, this is a genetic thing, I actually have to be careful, because if I get into computer games, if I get into drinking, if I get into drugs or an activity, I'm going 2 feet in the deep end. So, I do have to have discernment. So there was like a tipping point. There was a time when that thought served me because it made me stop and have discernment. And then I go beyond that information to understanding that it is like a kind of way to trick the self into not taking responsibility.
But isn't that the beautiful gift you've been given? Because even though it was a tricking, an illusion that you could genetically experience what your father was through your genetics, that brought you into a state of vigilance. Now
Yeah.
we see the alcoholism, drug addiction, whatever the case may be. What are people addicted to that harms them? Besides drugs, alcohol, pornography. Uh, we see those as bad, but we don't see the other addictions, which the chasing of money or fame or whatever the case is. We don't see those as bad. We see those as ambition.
Mm.
The reality is, through your willingness to investigate deeper. Perhaps you weren't even aware of what you were trying to understand at the time, but through it came the lesson of vigilance, discernment, vigilance, discernment.
Mm.
We're all addicts. Most
Yeah.
Course in Miracles students that have read the course more than 3 times are addicted to finding the truth.
Yeah,
Those
sure.
that have read it 12 times, 24 times are addicts.
Mm.
We're all addicts.
Mm.
We're addicted to something.
Mm.
And it's either good addiction or bad addiction, but it's all addiction. We are all predisposed to be addicted to incarnation. How many times have we done this? In my case, 1,664 times that I can recall, because I'm special. We're all addicted. But the minute we choose to stop resisting, the resistance to recognizing this is enormous,
Mm.
because the existence of the world as you perceive it depends on the body being the decision maker. So you've
Mm.
all heard me say this before. Our greatest fear isn't heaven or awakening to the absolute reality we share with God. Our greatest fear is the disillusionment that comes with having made up this dream. And when we do return to the oneness of being,
Mm.
where I and my Father are one, indivisible. There's no you, there's no God, there's no Jesus, there's no heaven. There's just beingness, a
Mhm.
pure awareness, aware of itself.
Mhm.
That's what we fear. I think most spiritual people would be very happy with the idea that when they die, because they now know that there's life after death, we're going to return to the spirit world and we're going to live happily ever after as beings
Mhm.
in the spirit world with God and with characters like Jesus. And if we can keep incarnating, we're all going to ascend and be on the same level as the Jesus or the Ramana Maharishi or the angels or the special levels of being. That we're okay with that.
Mm.
But the idea that every single body appearance throughout the universe will dissolve and just be pure light, and there will be no you, me. The sons of God is just rays of light ever extending in the present here now forever.
Mm.
It's not you and me awakening. That's our greatest fear, and that's why we resist this, and therefore we want to either be a body or an individual spirit being. True non-duality that this course takes into is Holy Son of God. Only you dreaming this whole thing up, and you, Son of God, are pure extension energy of God,
Mm.
love of God,
Mm.
extending forever,
Mm.
and and that's why we want to get stuck onto the problems and find solutions for genetics and body and addictions. And hey, Holy Son,
Mm.
just be, you
Mm.
know. And so
I
we want to
guess,
describe problems and we don't want the true answer.
yeah, excellent as always. And what's coming to mind for me there is like the orange sunglasses thing again, and the totality of perception. And that sentence again, how is healing accomplished, right? That sentence doesn't change. If I look at that sentence through the lens of ego identity, then
Mm,
it's like, how is healing accomplished? How's this thing that I haven't got now, that hasn't happened yet, in the future? There's a past, there's a present, there's a future, and there's other people, there's elements, there's details, there's this, there's that. How is it accomplished? Or that sentence doesn't change, and I look at it through the unfiltered lens of direct experience with no thought overlaid upon it. And you see, how is healing accomplished? Oh, yeah, that's interesting. How is it accomplished? Because it's already done.
mm,
But the sentence didn't change.
mm,
But the way of looking at it was either total in one sense or total in the other sense.
Mm.
So when we look at, oh, what is after life after death? Oh, what is the meaning of love that forever lies beyond words? We've got the orange glasses on.
mhm.
So we're going to see it in the tinted orange.
Yeah, yeah. And then
It,
sometimes we want to exchange the orange glasses for spiritual light blue shades. And now we've, oh,
yeah,
look, they've all got orange glasses. I have light blue heavenly shades.
yeah,
I'm seeing heaven. No, you're not. You're just seeing the snow in blue.
yeah.
I don't know if I spoke about this before. I can't remember. Like, my memory's faded these days. But
Oh
what
dear.
Luigi, oh yeah, well, come on, it got to come.
We'll have to get the old.
I have to get healed, get it all back again. Oh no.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
That's all right. I mean, what Luigi said about reincarnation, this is about the point. Um, I once read some time ago that reincarnation used to be in the Bible, right? And it was removed by
Yes.
the Second Council of Constantinople in either the fourth or seventh century. I can't remember why, but there was never any reason given why they did it, right? But in Yogananda's book, he talks about when he was at the University of India, they actually give an explanation of why this was so. It was because they didn't want people to know they had reincarnation, because they thought if people knew they could come back again, they wouldn't
Mhm.
be so pious, they wouldn't be so Christian. They think, I don't want to go to heaven, I don't want to go to hell, I better be a good boy. And there was this form of control. But they thought, like, well, if they know they're going to come back again, get a second chance, they might not be as pious as we'd like them to be,
Mhm.
so they scrapped it. They took it all out. There are
They left.
still,
They unfortunately left one line, which of course then got completely misinterpreted, and then started a whole movement in the 50s, and that was unless a man is born and born again,
ah,
he cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. So they made a
Uh,
mistake. They didn't have erasers in those days.
and also there's some part in it where they talk about Abraham will be reincarnated as a Messiah
Mm.
or something. If I don't know if
Yes.
I've got that right, but there are hints of it left in there. And in Revelation, there's a part about you will not go out again, which could be
Yes.
taken to me to go outside the reality of heaven again. That's what I
Yeah.
took that to mean.
There's also a passage where Jesus gets asked if the leper that he's just healed had sinned. And he said, neither he nor that which was before he came had sinned before. In other words, there was
Ah,
no sin, is what he was alluding at. So he was already referring to the common belief in reincarnation back then,
yeah.
you know. But one of the reasons also is, and maybe it's a good reason, is if we had believed in reincarnation while we were rather primitive, and if you see the things going on in this world, can you imagine what it was like 2,000 years ago? Um,
Sure.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
just imagine, okay, listen, I can just go around murdering. I'll just be back,
Yeah, I'll come back. Like, yeah.
I'll
I
just
don't
come
care.
back
I'll
Yeah,
and
get
do it
hung. I'll
better
come
next
back
time
and
around.
murder some more.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's just pull something up here that I don't want us to not um, cast the right amount of attention upon. Let me just have a look. Oh, I had it then. Where's it gone? Jesus is hiding it from me. Oh, this is it. So this is absolutely place cause and effect in their true sequence in
Yes.
one respect, and the learning will generalize and transform the world. The
Vital.
Yeah.
transfer value of one true idea has no end or limit. The final outcome of this lesson is the remembrance of God.
Yes.
The transfer value of one true idea has no end or limit. And I know I like to repeat it, but that if this course will be believed entirely or not at all,
Hmm.
we're going to believe this entirely. The transfer value of one true idea has no end or limit. We could probably do about 18 podcasts just on that sentence
Just on
because
that.
it's
There's a
incredible.
true sequence of,
Yeah.
of cause and effect,
Mm-hmm.
you know, of content, not form.
Generalize that word as well. Let's not skip over that because, again, it's the totality of perception. It's like
Yep.
you get it sussed, you get one idea right, you get because there's like Steve's always saying there's no differences as we know, it's just one thing going on here. So why can one true idea not extend and permeate everything? Because if perception's total, and coming back to this thing again with this with the title, how is healing accomplished, and we just see it through either the lens of the ego or the spirit, perception's total. So of course one true idea has got no end or limit because it's total, it's 100%. When you see things, me and my wife always joke when you see things on telly and they go, I'm going to give this 110%.
Mm.
You're like, come on, dude. I know what you mean. I'm only ribbing you, but
Yeah.
it's 100% or zero. And
Unless you're spiritual, in
Of
which
course.
case it's 111% because the 111 are very important.
that's true. I do know. I
Yeah.
remember you saying that you set a little alarm on your mobile for when it's 11:11 every day, so you can do a special prayer.
Yeah.
Incidentally, have you two been through that period where you keep seeing 1111 everywhere?
Lou
Or
does.
Yes,
111 or
Lou,
everybody goes
1111?
through that
yeah.
phase. Yeah.
I have.
Lou,
I mean, unless you've been through it, you can't really describe it to people because it's everywhere.
yeah,
It's everywhere. I mean, not, you don't look around and see 1111, but it seems to keep popping up everywhere. Booking into hotels and you're given the hotel room 111.
yeah. It's
Something
almost
comes. It's
it's
just it's yeah, it's only occasional now, but one time it was just went on and on and on.
Yeah,
And I
it's the
looked into it
practice of
trying to find.
vigilance.
it's almost as
Practice
though
of
the
vigilance.
learning will generalize and transfer the world.
Yes.
Yeah,
But that line is
Friends.
the final outcome is the of this lesson is the remembrance of God. Full stop,
yeah,
ka-ching, close the
Yeah.
book.
Close
You
the
know,
book. Right, let's go.
what do guilt, sickness, and pain, disaster,
Mm,
and suffering mean now? Having no purpose, they are gone. And here comes this is the whack.
mm,
And with them also go all the effects they seemed to
yeah.
cause and effect, but replicate creation. And
Mhm,
that's vital to get because what is replication? So if you could go take a step back, what is creation? Pure
mm,
love, extending.
mhm,
Cause and effect, what is that? It's not extending. The effect of misperception or false perception is making or
mm,
imagining. But they try and replicate creation, never can, because no matter what it replicates, it cannot hang on to it for eternity.
yeah.
Because if it could, then we would be immortal physical beings.
Yeah.
mm,
And the beauty of the apparent death is that it brings us into that awareness that what appears and disappears was never true.
Yeah.
See their
yeah,
proper perspective
Yeah.
without distortion and without fear.
Yeah.
They reestablish heaven.
It's
Wow.
amazing.
Just,
Amazing.
wow. And also,
Amazing.
this it,
yeah.
the idea of projection and reflection can easily be put across in its intensity, like somebody in love, right? If you've been in love, I mean, everything's just wonderful. Like you're walking home from some bird's house and you just fell in love with her later, and everything's just great. Oh my God, look at that. And that a great lamppost. Oh, that's terrific. Oh man, this is just wonderful. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, On the other hand, like someone's really, like you get an angry person, all they see is things around them to make them angry. You know,
Yeah.
somebody who comes to work who's got out the wrong side of bed, so to speak, and he's shouting at everybody, and you did this wrong, you did that wrong, what's that hanging up? Let's hang him wrong, put that right, blah, 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 blah. He's projecting his anger out everywhere, and he sees it everywhere he goes. The person in love can't see any of that, yet they're looking at the same world. That's projection and reflection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's,
Look,
and
I've never
it's
been in love, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
We love
it's
you.
we love you, Lou.
Yeah. We'll take you out. If we ever come to South Africa, we'll take you out for a romantic meal and stare into your eyes from across the
Candles
table.
and
It's a good thing neither of you invited.
You say that. We've got a secret plan, haven't we, Steve?
My retreat in 2067.
Right. The function of the teacher of God is to fly to South Africa and take Lewis out for a romantic meal. Oh, God, look, Steve, it's even here in the book. Right.
Chapter 94. Yes.
It is written.
Yeah. Why can't women go to stonings? Right. The function of the teacher of God. If the patient must change his mind in order to be healed, what does the teacher of God do? Can he change the patient's mind for him? Certainly not. For those already willing to change their minds, he has no function except to rejoice with them, for they have become teachers of God with him. He has, however, a more specific function for those who do not understand what healing is. These patients do not realize they have chosen sickness. On the contrary, they believe that sickness has chosen them. Nor are they open-minded on this point. The body tells them what to do, and they obey. They've no idea how insane this concept is. If they even suspected it, they would be healed.
Simple as that.
Oh, it's got me there. Yet they suspect nothing. To them, separation is quite real. To them, God's teachers come to represent another choice which they'd forgotten. The simple presence of a teacher of God is a reminder. His thoughts ask for the right to question what the patient has accepted as true. As God's messengers, his teachers are the symbols of salvation. They ask the patient for forgiveness for what God's Son. They ask the patient for forgiveness for God's Son in his own name. Shakespeare got me there. They stand for the alternative. With God's word in their minds, they come in benediction, not to heal the sick, but to remind them of the remedy God has already given them. It's not in their hands that heal. It's not their voice that speaks the word of God. They merely give what has been given them. Very gently, they call to their brothers to turn away from death. Behold, you Son of God, what life can offer you. Would you choose sickness in place of this? Not once do the advanced teachers of God consider the forms of sickness in which their brother believes. To do this is to forget that all of them have the same purpose and therefore are not really different. They seek for God's voice in this brother who would so deceive himself as to believe God's Son can suffer. And they remind him that he did not make himself and must remain as God created him. They recognize illusions can have no effect. The truth in their mind reaches out to the truth in the minds of their brothers, so that illusions are not reinforced. They are thus brought to truth. Truth is not brought to them. So are they dispelled, not by the will of another, but by the one will with itself. And this is the function of God's teachers, to see no will as separate from their own, nor theirs as separate from God's.
Well, as teachers, we do share the same will because we're all three of us are sitting there believing the same thing, knowing the same thing. It goes beyond belief. And that's knowing that the three of us have is what connects us together and brings us here to do this every week or every other week. You
And
know,
we all allowed a little bit of silence as well to just,
digest that.
yeah, just to feel that knowing of just like, bloody hell.
It is like it's gaining and knowing. It goes beyond belief to knowing.
Mm.
And it's like you say, a lot of people say, well, do you believe the talks? I don't believe it. I know it. Well, how can you know it? I just know it. It's just
Mm.
in the
Yeah.
heart. You just
Do you
know.
believe you've got a hat on?
In a dream, I have, yeah. It's my dream hat.
You know you've got a hat on.
But it's these holy, this is the holy instant. This is what's just happened. Is you read this, and this is why I urge people, just start your day with a course. Just it takes you to that moment, and it takes you straight into that prayer. This holy instant I give to you, be you in charge, that I may follow you, certain that in your direction I have found peace. Um, the patient must change his mind in order to be healed. Now, okay, remember the course is talking us at different levels, and his mind, your mind. We don't have a mind. We are activities in our shared collective dream mind.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we're all fragments of that same mind. So there's an appearance that you and I have a mind with which we choose. But no, God is the mind with which I choose and chosen through. But it's these moments that, can he change his mind for him? Hey, special teachers for God. Hey, you
Mm-hmm.
special ones.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
And to add to Steve's earlier French, certainly fucking not. Teachers for God, you're not here to change anyone's mind
Yeah.
because you are just an activity of the same shared mind. PG-33, it's Luigi's channel again. So just recognize that beauty because it takes all the pressure off.
Yeah.
You're only here to recognize our one shared self, and you do more for the healing of the world by recognizing your Son of God self and that which appears to dream, which isn't true, but that which is bearing witness, the observer of the dream for now, closer to it. And eventually there won't even be a witness because there's just the awareness of being or awareness itself or beingness itself,
Mm.
interchangeable words.
Mm.
So for those already willing, or because that's it, that's why stop marketing, stop chasing, stop trying to recruit followers. Don't turn this into another cult, another temple, another circle of lunacy, foundation of madness, another cathedral, another church, another. Don't, guys, don't do that. People with all the right intentions built a church 2,000 years ago. Look where it's taken us. 30,000 sects, no one agrees. One half wants to
Mm.
kill each other, the other half wants to bomb someone else. Don't go there. Rather, just recognize I've done this unto myself
Mm.
and I can choose. It takes one Holy Son to awaken. The 2,000 years ago, he planted the seed in our collective mind that ascension is possible. Let's become demonstrators of that which we've learned through our brothers that have come before us, whether it be a Jesus, a Ramana, a Nisargadatta, a Muji, a Papaji, whatever. Let's recognize that and share that knowingly. For
Mm.
those already willing to change their minds, he has no function except
Mm.
to rejoice with them. For
Oh,
that echo of
yeah.
eternity, the laughter that echoes through the mind for
Mm.
they have become teachers of God with him. We're reflections of us, of each other,
Mm.
you know. And here comes the very, very specific instruction. If you've taken up this role willingly, you have, however, a more specific function for those who do not understand what healing is. And you know what that function is? Not to tell them, not to lecture to them, not to preach to them, not to try and convert them, not to try and bring them to a retreat. There's not going to be a retreat in Africa, brothers. Um, and so, but to demonstrate, I mean, spend 20 minutes with Steve. You start laughing. You can't help but 10 minutes in, you're laughing. Add Stephen Leon, and it's just laughter. I mean, it took us an hour just to calm down, having met earlier before we started the recording. Why? We're talking about circuses and monkeys and just having fun and tattoos and that's it. You come to reflect the joyous lightness of being. And no, trust me on this one. I'm spiritual. Not everyone's going to see it, and people are going to see in you reflections of their ugly mirror.
Yeah.
Who are unhappy with themselves
Yeah.
see in you everything they hate about the world.
Yeah.
No matter how kind you're trying to be, spiritual, you're trying to be miraculous, you're trying to be. That's why I don't pay any attention to the thoughts appearing in what you think is your mind, in your awareness, really. And therefore, do not pay any attention to thoughts in form or what they say or what they appear to think or what they appear to do. Matters not, Holy Son of God. You're dreaming all of this up, realize you're not in the cinema house, you're not the screen, you're not the projector. The whole thing's in a dreamscape. Awaken to self, awaken to your ultimate reality. It's the choice. It's just a choice. And teacher for God, stop preaching, start being, start sharing. Bring the joyous lightness of being in the only way you know how. Don't try and be spiritual. Don't try and imagine what Jesus was like, unless you like donkeys and sandals. And I mean, that guy had dirty feet. No matter where he went, someone wanted to wash his feet. Do you want to be that dude, or do you wear boots like I do? No one's ever wanted to wash my feet. Um, so just be yourself. Just be as you are. You don't have to change. You don't have to spiritualize. You don't have to change your language. You don't have to change your persona. You don't have to change your temperament. If you're a miserable git like Luigi Poo, be miserable, but do it properly and play your role to the best of your ability. But recognize, hey, this isn't real. I'm never left. I'm still in my
Brilliant.
Father's kingdom.
And then the truth in their minds reaches out to the truth in the minds of their brothers, so that
Yes.
illusions are not reinforced.
Yeah,
Keep it
yeah.
real.
I mean, I remember the first time I listened to Steve, I just laughed, laughed, and laughed. I thought, gee, finally, a guy who brings the truth in most humorous and amazing and rapid fire way. And when I chatted to you, Leon, years later, I said, hey, look up this dude.
Yeah.
Wow, he's sharing the same truth. And that's how the mirrors come. Very different in the way that we deliver. Keith Kavanaugh, I mean, wow, gentle, beautiful, poetic, Irish, funny as hell, um, sublime humor. And yet, Nick Arundi's another one, what's her name with Blunton up front? She's beautiful, just beautiful characters, all sharing the same knowing in their own individual way. No one's trying to be different or special, just show up, show up, show the infinite lightness of being.
Yeah. Telling the truth through your own individual filter, so to speak.
Yes, very well put.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like the stuff about Rupert Spira's thing about the orange sunglasses. I mean, that's been around for years in the form of looking at the world through rose-coloured spectacles, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
You look at the world through rose-coloured, meaning you'd see everything wonderful all the time. That
I'm
was
looking
just
forward to I'm looking forward to seeing a lamppost that I love now.
well, go on. Well, I didn't mean I actually loved the lamppost. No, I saw it in a more sort of kind of kindly light.
I'm going to stop
Musicians
the
always say
dogs.
the funniest things.
What's that, Lou?
I said musicians always say the funniest things.
I'm going to stop any dogs from peeing up the lamppost outside now because I love it so much.
Yeah, stop them.
Yeah,
Sacrilege.
I'm going to start a religion of the love of the lamppost. Keep these dogs
Lamppost love.
away. Keep the dogs out. This is my lamppost. It's special.
Yes.
So, Nisargadatta, to wrap things up.
Right.
Terrible old boring Nisargadatta. I don't know why we bring him up each time, but it's probably because we can't find anything better. Somebody asks him, are there entities in reality? Identity is reality. Reality is identity. Reality is not a shapeless mass, a worldless chaos. It's powerful, aware, and blissful. Compared to it, your life is like a candle to the sun. By the grace of God and your teachers, you lost all desire and fear and reached the immovable state. My question is simple. How do you know that your state is immovable? Only the changeable can be thought of and talked about. The unchangeable can only be realized in silence.
Yes.
Once realized, it will deeply affect the changeable itself, remaining unaffected. How do you know that you are the witness? I do not know. I am. I am. Because to be everything must be witnessed. Existence can also be accepted on hearsay. Still, finally, you come to the need of a direct witness. Witnessing, if not personal and actual, must be at least possible and feasible. Direct experience is the final proof. Experience may be faulty and misleading, quite, but not the fact of an experience. Whatever may be the experience, true or false, the fact of an experience taking place cannot be denied. It is its own proof. Watch yourself closely, and you will see that whatever be the content of consciousness, the witnessing of it does not depend on the content. Awareness is itself and does not change with the event. The event may be pleasant or unpleasant, minor or important. Awareness is the same. Take note of the peculiar nature of pure awareness, its natural self-identity, without the least trace of self-consciousness, and go to the root of it, and you will soon realize that awareness is your true nature, and nothing you may be aware of you can call your own. Is not consciousness and its content one and the same? Consciousness is like a cloud in the sky, and the water drops are the content. The cloud needs the sun to become visible, and consciousness needs being focused in awareness. Is not awareness a form of consciousness?
Mm.
When the content is viewed without likes and dislikes, the consciousness of it is awareness. But still, there is a difference between awareness as reflected in consciousness and pure awareness beyond consciousness. Reflected awareness, the sense I am aware, is the witness, while pure awareness is the essence of reality. Reflection of the sun in a drop of water is reflection of the sun, no doubt, but not the sun itself. Between awareness reflected in consciousness as the witness and pure awareness, there is a gap which the mind cannot cross. Does it not depend on the way you look at it? The mind says there is difference, the heart says there is none. Of course, there is no difference. The real sees the real in the unreal. It's the mind that creates the unreal, and it is the mind that sees the false as false. I understood that the experience of the real follows the sense of the false as false. I understood that the experience of the real follows the seeing of the false as false. There's no such thing as the experience of the real. The real is beyond experience. All experience is in the mind. You know the real by being real. If the real is beyond words and my mind, why do we talk so much about it? For the joy of it, of course. The real is bliss supreme. Even to talk of it is happiness.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very. Very. I like the idea he talks about the witness, where you just watch the world go by, so to speak, and don't have any particular thoughts about it.
That's
There's some,
forgiveness in Course in Miracles language, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
To not overlay meaning on anything. Nothing has any meaning. The witness.
As the moment arises, the moment disappears. If you know the moment disappears into your memory, just forget about that. Just take moment by moment. Isn't this a Godard that talks about? It's moment by moment by moment. The script is already written, so let your body and mind do what it wants. You just become aware of it. You just watch it through good or bad. Now, someone says to him, like, I notice you smoke cigarettes. He said, yeah, my body's smoking cigarettes, my spirit ain't. Do you know what I mean? That's what's in my, in my spiritual life, the life of what, well, Luigi smokes, and the life of Luigi, he smokes in that life, but that's what his life is. He's God experiencing Luigi, like I am God experiencing Stephen Dean and God experiencing Leon. In my life, as I said before, like when I pass away from it, all my memories of it will all go with me. You and the same. It's just what I've made up, just what I perceived, what I thought was there.
Mm.
I can describe it to you, but you think, oh, that's what he thinks, that's what he thinks. But it's really nothing except an opinion of what I'm expressing.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And when you and me started chatting when we were waiting for Lou earlier, and you said to me, how was the concert the other day? And I said to you, well, this guy is such a virtuoso player. I can't use language to put it across to you. I could tell you his guitar was white, and you go, okay, a white guitar, but
yeah. And if you say it was great, it was fantastic, it was astonishing. I mean, it says nothing really, does it?
No.
Except it was really good.
And interestingly, even if I tell you his guitar was white, I'm picturing that guitar that was white. You're going to picture your own version of a white guitar.
Yeah,
So,
I would picture a white Stratocaster for some reason, though he probably wasn't playing a Stratocaster.
right.
I think he plays. I don't matter what he plays. I can't remember now, but I don't think it's a Stratocaster.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But we just have to trust that we know what that generalization is because we do.
Yeah.
it gives you an idea. It's
If
just
I
an
love,
idea.
if I invited you two round for some veggie burgers, Lou's going to faint. We're going to need to get the ambulance out to try and resuscitate him because he's been given a plate of food that has got nothing on there that once had a heartbeat. But I'm going to eat that veggie burger and think it's fantastic.
Mm.
Lou's going to want to eat a knuckle, like a great big lump of meat about the size of my head. Steve,
Well,
you're
I'm a
going to
meat eater.
you're
I
going to
eat meat.
jump in.
I mean, I eat meat. I mean, I was
But,
brought up to eat meat. I don't see. Anyway, we know they're not going to argue about
but
meat eating or vegetable eating, but
but the
it's
point
in the eye
being
of the
is,
beholder, that, and
yeah, we trust that even if trust is not quite an on point word in terms of what we come to use it as in course speak, but we can say that we trust that one another knows when I say, oh wow, that apple was lovely, and you go, okay, I know what he means. I don't like apples, but I love bananas, whatever the thing is. The
Mm-hmm.
generalization, the commonality is there.
Yes.
yeah. I think the whole idea was like being eating meat and all that is in a spiritual sense. If you have some kind of vindictive thought about the way you do this, like if you, I don't really know. I don't judge anything anyway. I mean,
I
I
do
put,
know it said I've got a special version of the course that not no one else. I've got 32 chapters in mine, and it does say in 32 that if you haven't got to the point yet where you realize you should be vegetarian, then you won't actually get into heaven. But I don't tend to share that with many people because it's special information that I like to keep back for myself.
well, that's in
Yeah.
your world, did it?
Yeah.
That's what came in with you and what goes out with you. I'm not finding that vegetarians always have that same attitude, like, you know what I mean? You ain't going to go to heaven unless you eat carrots. That don't seem to make a lot of sense to me,
Oh,
really.
it's in the course, chapter
Is it,
32.
where's it mentioned carrots?
It does,
I don't
chapter
do reading about
32.
carrots.
I've got the extra chapter, and I've
No,
got I've got the leap year edition of the course, so I get
Wow.
366 lessons in the workbook, and I get 32 chapters in the text. And in chapter 32, it definitely has a paragraph about eating carrots gets you into heaven, eating meat keeps you completely and utterly shut out forever.
well, I never knew that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You
You
have to
learn something.
photocopy it and mail
I
it to me, and
can't, I'm afraid. No, no, the
it
photocopiers don't
disappears
work.
outside your range of vision.
Yeah, the photocopiers aren't working in West Sussex at the moment. It's a shame. You'll just have to take my word for it, Steve.
I'll take your word for it.
These sons of gods are not listening out for his voice, and they're so deceived by themselves. Carrots, do you know that carrots were originally purple?
Of course, yeah, it's in
I
chapter
understand that they
32.
were.
So
They
the Dutch made them orange.
oh,
So
I heard that they were white originally. The white carrots used to be white like parsnips, and somehow they got to be orange. I don't know. I think the
yeah,
Dutch did
white
it, did they?
purple, sort of a white to a purple color when they were ripe. Yeah, thank God you guys are so far away from me. I don't have to eat veggie burgers.
Well,
Um,
we won't be out far away forever, will we,
Oh,
Steve?
I eat veggie
We'll
burgers,
have
but
a
I'm partial to the odd meat burger as well. The thing is with meat, like in that, if people had to kill the animal themselves to eat it, they think twice about it. I think, depending on how they are. But it's such a part of our Western society that you dished up meat, and meat gives you a lot of, it's got a lot more nutrition in it. Like,
how did
I
we
don't know.
get
I'm not
to
going to
this
argue
thing?
the case for meat eating and veg eating, but it's
why not?
something that I partake of now and again. I mean, and I'm not ashamed. It's
You
just
should feel very guilty about
True teachers for God recognize that veggie burgers can have no effect.
it.
The truth is in their minds. Reach out to the minds of those who eat meat so that illusions are not reinforced. Nomini Patri, Filii Spiritus Sancti. Amen. No more stay.
Yeah, carrots, cauliflower, cucumber, broccoli.
This was
Amazing.
wonderful, guys. Thank
Yeah,
you. Great
brilliant.
chat.
it was a great chat. I
See
read
you
there
next
some
time.
some of the Indian masters used to eat meat. I just had that as a go. Like, not all of them were vegetarians.
No, those are the
But
ones
anyway,
that
that aside,
never.
I'm not trying to defend
No,
myself by saying the Indian masters eat them.
they're the ones
But
who
they
never
do.
got into heaven, though, Steve.
Well,
Now, they're
they had to
reincarnated as
keep coming
demons.
back, keep
One.
coming back until they got a taste for carrots.
And on that
Anyway,
purple note,
No more stay.
see you next time.
I'll see you next time, lads. Terrific. Have a good one. I'll see
Bye.
you.